I'm speaking with Sean Brady, who's going to take on Gilbert Urbina at LFA 49. That goes September 14th in Atlantic City. A very intriguing bout between two undefeated welterweight prospects. Thanks so much for doing this, Sean.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it for having me on.
Let's talk about first, before we get into Gilbert and your assessment of him as a fighter, etc. Let's talk about how this fight came together because you haven't fought under the LFA banner yet. So talk a little bit about that and what was your initial reaction when you found out you were going to get this headlining spot and it was going to be against Gilbert?
Yeah, so I was actually supposed to fight Julian Lane about 3 weeks ago on July 28th, and the fight wound up getting canceled the night after weigh-ins. He had something wrong with his medicals, and like the state wouldn't clear him to fight. So I legit did an entire training camp, cut weight, made weight, and then had the fight taken away from me. So I needed to get right back in there. And my manager, Brian Hamper and Brian Butler from Sucker Punch, they were right on it for me. So we knew LFA was coming to Atlantic City, and I live in Philadelphia, so I fought in AC a bunch of times, and it just made sense. They told me they would give me a main event, and I was all over it. Every opponent that they gave me, whoever the name was, I just said, yeah, I just needed to get a fight, and here we are.
Yeah, and you fought for Shogun Fights as well as CFFC, and CFFC is a big Northeast promotion. But is it safe to say that this is the biggest fight for you to date in terms of exposure? It'll be on Access TV and a headlining spot on what's widely, I think, considered one of the top feeding prospect feeder organizations in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge opportunity, and LFA's got an amazing reputation, and they're a huge organization, but they're like CFFC. I'm their welterweight champion, and they run a really good show over there. Besides not being on TV, I think they're one of the best organizations. But yeah, LFA is a huge deal. It's going to be on Access TV. Everyone knows who Legacy is, so it's definitely, as far as promotion wise, it's definitely my biggest fight to date.
And let's talk about Gilbert. Comes from a very famous MMA family in Southwest. Obviously, his brother Hector competed in the UFC, and his other brother too, I believe, competed on the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. How familiar were you with Gilbert? And since then, since you found out you're going to fight him, what's your take on him as a fighter?
Before this, I never really heard of him. I mean, there's so many fighters, so I
Yeah.
never heard his name. But what I know of him now is he's a tough kid. He's training with a good camp. I'm pretty sure he's out training at Jackson's, and he's undefeated. He's 5-0. From what I've heard, he's a wrestler. I've watched his fights. He's a tough kid, and it's definitely going to be a good test for me. So I'm excited to go against another undefeated guy and put on the show.
For people who may not be familiar with you yet, let's talk a little bit about your background in getting into the sport. From what I've read and seen you do some other interviews, it sounds like you got involved pretty young.
Yeah, I started training Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu when I think I was like 16, and then I had my first fight when I was 19, and then I turned pro when I was 21. So I've been training since I was in high school. In 10th grade, I started training, and I just fell in love with it. I started taking it really serious my last amateur fight, and then I knew I was going to make a career out of this, and I got really serious. I buckled down. I started doing super long training camps. I trained with some of the best guys in the world, I think, right here in my home city. So I'm lucky enough I don't have to travel anywhere. So I never had a background in wrestling. I kind of just started doing everything all at the same time, and then I just stuck with it.
Yeah, and brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Renzo Gracie Philly. Let's talk about that. I mean, let's say Hector does get you down. I'm guessing because of your jiu-jitsu pedigree, you're not overly concerned with that. Would you welcome a exchange on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, if he does get me down, which that's definitely not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
I'll be fine there. Like I said, I'm a brown belt under Daniel Gracie. Daniel's a legend. I train with Daniel every single day. I train with high-level black belt every day. So if that's what he wants to do, if he wants to take me down, then he's going to have to work for it because I'm going to be looking to take him down. I'm going to be looking to strike. I'm going to be unpredictable. Everyone thinks I'm just a grappler, but I have great striking. I hit hard, and I'm looking to show him some new tricks this fight. So, wherever it goes, I'll be ready for it.
If you go out and score a big win on September 14th, what kind of doors do you think this might open? Are you looking at, say, hey, maybe this opens the door to a call up to the UFC, it'd be 9-0? Are you not thinking that far ahead?
Yeah, I'm not really thinking that far ahead. I'm always just focused on the task at hand, But I definitely want to fight another time this year because, like I said, I saw Colton early on in the year in March, and I would have fought again right afterwards, but I was hoping to get on the Contender Series, and that didn't work out. And then I was supposed to fight Julian in July, and that didn't work out. So I'm gonna do this fight, and as long as I come out unscathed, I'm hoping to turn around pretty fast, no matter if it's for the UFC, if it's for CFFC, it doesn't matter. I just want to get another fight in there and just stay active.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series because I talked to Rafian Stotts not long ago, and he's competing on an upcoming LFA. And he had a situation where he was preparing for a bout, if I recall correctly, on Dana White's that series. It fell through, and meanwhile he had passed on paying fights. Is that something that, like, how do you feel about that? Is the risk and worth the reward there in terms of competing on the show and being able to lock up possibly a UFC contract?
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to got on the show. The opportunity never came to me. So I mean, I would have loved to just get on there. It's a great opportunity just for the exposure and everything. And then I mean, you get you have a really good chance. You have a 1 in 5 chance to get in the UFC. So if I'm not in the UFC and that ever rolls back around and the opportunity presents itself, that's something I would definitely do. But yeah, I mean, I would love to do something like that.
Your management company, very established. Brian Butler, great reputation throughout the sport. When you look at possible, moving up to big organizations, are you someone, having talked to prospects in the past, it's interesting because sometimes guys say, like, look, I'm just focused on the UFC, biggest organization in the world, and other fighters are open to, the Bellators, fighting overseas, etc. What's your take on all that?
I'm looking for the UFC. Like Bellator and all that stuff's amazing, but I want to be the best in the world in the best organization. It's like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Like the UFC is the huge organization in MMA. I don't want to be a champion for Bellator. Nothing against any of those guys. Like I want to be a champion inside the UFC, which is the best, biggest organization for MMA in the world. So that's where I want to go. But yeah, if stuff really didn't work out and for some reason I couldn't get into the UFC, I would do Bellator or like ONE. But yeah, my focus right now is just Gilbert for LFA, and then think about all that stuff afterwards.
Let's talk about the Colton Smith fights. For people who may not remember, Colton Smith competed on The Ultimate Fighter and went on to fight in the UFC. Veteran guy. You scored a decision win over him this past March. How big of a win was that for you, do you think? And do you think that sort of helped facilitate this opportunity with LFA?
Yeah, definitely. It was a huge fight. It was a huge win. I think I dominated Colton from start to finish. I dropped him in the third round with a body kick. It was his name was he has a really big name. He was a tough guy. Like some of his only losses were to some of the best guys in the world. So the way I beat him was very dominant, and I think it did a lot for me. I don't think it did as much as I thought it was going to do. So I thought I was going to maybe get the call after that fight, but now I know I just got to keep my head down and just keep beating people, and eventually it will happen, because you can't just rely on beating one name to get the call.
I wanted to ask you about the MMA community in Philadelphia. Obviously, you've got names like Eddie Alvarez coming out of there, and you mentioned Daniel Gracie, very established jiu-jitsu instructor and fighter. But what, for any of us that are kind of removed from that region, what is it like now? And you mentioned, we talked about CFFC, which has got a big name in the Northeast, but is there going to be more fighters coming out of there like yourself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I train with Jonathan Webb. He's my main training partner. Right. He was already in the UFC. He's actually the co-main event for LFA. I train Paul Felder. Most people know who he is. He's in the UFC. He's a very established lightweight. I train with him. We have so many guys up and coming. One of my teammates, Jeremiah Wells, he just won the CES title last weekend. So we have a great group of guys. I train with Robbie Ibrahim. He's one of the best Muay Thai coaches in North America. I have him right here in Philly. So our talent bed is huge. We have some of the best guys around on this side of the country, and I train with them every single day. So I'm very fortunate for that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jonathan Webb, and I remember talking to him before his bout with Nate Coy in the UFC. He's coming off a couple wins, and how is he doing? And he's got to be a great asset, especially in the grappling department. Outstanding grappler.
Yeah, he's great, man. We just got done training him. We just got done sparring. He's feeling sharp. He's fighting Tanner, a guy I already fought. So yeah, he's got that fire back, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do, because I think he's one of the best welterweights in the world. And when he's on, there's not many people that can beat him. So we're definitely going to come to perform Saturday night for Friday night for LFA. It's going to be good.
Last question for you. You have a prediction for the fight?
Just to win. I never really try to predict a fight. I just know he's a young, tough kid, and he's coming to fight, and I'm coming to fight, whether it's a knockout, a submission, or if I wrestle him for 15 minutes. I just want to win, and I know I'm going to win. It doesn't matter to me how I get it done. The only thing I have to do is just get my hand raised that night and move forward.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's a really interesting fight between two undefeated prospects that goes September 14th. It's going to be on Access TV if people have it. Thanks again, Sean, for doing this, and best of luck.
Oh, thank you, man. You have a great day.